Good morning. Good morning. So glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Bright and shiny faces on this. What I thought was going to be a real cold day, and I just had to turn the air on. Those windows let in a lot of heat and light. And so I got to tell you a little story here. Last week at bingo, after bingo, we were milling by the door, several of us, and this lady was coming. I've seen her often go to the senior center. That's a center that takes great care of older adults, and they give them free meals and maybe $2 or $3 meals, what have you. And I like to see them go in and out, and they fraternize. Oh, hi, how are you? Kind of like our bingo crowd. But this one lady comes in, and she, bless her heart, she's all bent over like this, and she's got this walker. And I've often thought, boy, I'd love to get her one of those walkers where you stand up like this and walk. You know. Anyway, she looked at that unity sign there, and she said, "Spiritual center, huh?" "Yes, ma'am." "Well, I want to know if you are Bible-preaching, God-fearing people that believe every word of the Bible is true." I said, "I'm sorry, man, that's not us. Not us." "No." I said, "Well, we focus on the teachings of Jesus and the New Testament, and you know, Jesus said God is love, and I don't hear much of that in the Old Testament. I hear about a God who takes revenge on people, who tells them to stone some man to death because he was gathering sticks on a Sunday, and who dashes their children again. That old God." I said, "We don't believe in that old God." And she said, "Well, I've heard enough." And she got in, and I thought, bless your heart, that you're all wrapped up in that just negative stuff. And to me, it's sad. But everybody's in their own place at the right time. And it's okay to be exactly where you are. And sometimes I get a little mouthy, and people say, "Oh, yeah, every word in the Bible is true." And I said, "Oh, yeah, well, take for example," and I'll go on, and I'll try to prove how savvy I am. And then I'll think later, I'm not very savvy because I should have just accepted that person the way they are, and I could have moved on. So I'm not so bright after all, am I? So we had an experience this past week. Many of you know our pets. We have furry pets. We have 2 dogs and a cat and a rabbit and a mouse. So Roman, the rabbit, we just love him. He's such a cuddly bunny rabbit, and he comes when you call out Cookie and click, and he'll come run when the dogs are getting ready to be fed and the cat, they're all gathering. Here comes Roman bouncing around. And he wants his special food, and he gets it. Well, I don't remember the exact time, what have you, but anyway, I think Natalie she said, "I can't find Roman." Often he'll hide around, and we'll find him. It takes a few minutes and maybe a flashlight or so. "Can't find Roman." "Okay, well, let's look for Roman." And we started looking. And finally, we searched the house. There's nowhere else he could be. So we went outside, and we have this fence that's made of these iron posts that come up and down every few inches or whatever have you. And Natalie went out there and put chicken wire along with it all the way to the bottom, and put stones on it and tied it up to the fence. So there was no way that bunny could have gotten out. But there is one low part that, in my mind, flashed, wow, a coyote could easily jump over that. Yeah, and I've read about, in the daily paper here, I've read about coyotes taking people's cats and dogs and jumping fences. And I remember the time when I was in Sedona, and I was walking along the Red Rock Trail, and there wasn't very much maybe between the window and here, and I'm walking along, and all of a sudden 2 coyotes come around the bend, and they're there, and they saw me, and there was a not a cliff, but maybe as high as 8-10 feet, and they both cleared that. They went running after me, and they pawed themselves up. It was over that in a split second. I thought, man, that's probably what it is. Well, were looking frantically. And I said, well, probably a coyote. And I remember the time when an owl got my daughter's cat, swooped in and grabbed the kitten, and took off. And Mom was saying, oh, no, a coyote? I said, yeah, Mom, they're all over the place. You know, this is coyote country, and I think the coyote probably got him. It's the only thing. We can't find him anywhere. He's not in the yard. He's not in the house. He's got to be outside. He couldn't get through the fence. Must be a coyote. Well, that started the ball rolling oh no, poor Roman. Oh man. And I'm telling Natalie, I said, well, you know, when a coyote, you know, grabs something, it shakes it. So he would have had a quick death. And so we said, well, call Silent Unity. Silent Unity is our prayer, 24-hour, 7-day prayer ministry in Kansas City. And we called Silent Unity and got on the prayer line. And so we have a lost rabbit, and, you know, and they prayed for the return of the rabbit. Well, we still were in our grief mode. And I guess I was kind of stoking it. So, well, you know, it's sad. It really is sad. But, you know, coyotes, they have to eat too. You know, they get... And Mom's going... And Roman is Mom's favorite. He's had just a little bacterial infection. He'd been sneezing. And he'll just sit there. Mom will run over it and start petting it and it'll stop sneezing. So we were heartbroken. And so later on, I don't know, about 5 o'clock was it? We have the 2 dogs and the cat, and the back door is open to the yard. And all of a sudden, Mom says, oh, here's Roman. What happened? Oh, my. And we all went over and hugging Roman and was like, oh. Mom said, you had to mention coyotes and you started the whole thing. I said, I know, man. I know. And you know, but you know, we didn't do it as we could have, would have, should have. Because following the teachings that we teach, Jesus said, pray. And when you pray, pray believing that which you want is already yours. And so we didn't really strenuously follow that teaching. We, after we prayed with Silent Unity, we kind of gave up and anticipated the worst. And it taught us a lesson that when you pray believing that what you want. See it happening. Imagine it happening, what you want. Because you're praying for what you don't want if you're into fear and guilt and loss and, oh, why didn't we? We should have checked that fence somehow to honor. You know, so we put ourselves through a trip. But I think it was all for a lesson to say, hey, ye of little faith. And so we learn from that. So see in your mind's eye what you want. We spend so much time thinking about what we don't want, and that becomes a prayer. We're praying for what we don't want. And then when we get what we don't want, we complain we don't have what we want. So, again, that's our lesson, and perhaps you can glean something out of that as well. So, this is unity, and we tend to try the best we can to stay on the positive path. We try to, our goal is to watch our thinking and don't get into stinking thinking. Louise Hay was a New Thought person, minister, what have you, many years ago. She's on the other side now. She wrote a book, Heal Your Body. And she said, stop for a moment and catch your thought. What are you thinking right now? If thoughts shape your life and experiences, would you want this thought to become true for you? If it is a thought of worry, or anger, or hurt, or revenge, how do you think this thought will come back to you? If we want a joyous life, we must think joyous thoughts. If we want a prosperous life, we must think prosperous thoughts. If we want a loving life, we must think loving thoughts. Whatever we send out mentally or verbally will come back to us in life form. Listen to the words you say. If you hear yourself saying something 3 times, write it down, because it's become a pattern for you. At the end of the week, look at the list you have made, and you will see how your words fit your experience. Be willing to change your words and thoughts and watch your life change. It's your power and it's your choice. No one thinks in mind but you. So, Jesus, in my understanding, taught us in a way that God is not a Santa Claus. You don't just pray and think God will give you what you want. Because what if you pray and God doesn't give you what you want? What's wrong with you? Something wrong? No. God gave you all the power. God has held nothing back. God has given you everything. And it's our mind and our heart connection. And what we think, focus on, not just the random thoughts, oh, you know, crappy David, but if we keep working on that, and like Louise Hay says, write it down. If it's 3 times, it's become a pattern. We have to be so careful of our thoughts and the emotions we put behind them. And so, a Buddhist said one time, he said, if you can avoid stepping on a bug, he said ant, but if you can avoid stepping on an ant, avoid it. But if the ants in your house are bothering you, do something, get rid of them. But don't stomp them out with, hey, ants, ants. He said, you realize how much that puts up and how your aura changes? Well, we're going to talk about that, energy fields, because we are energy beings. We are electromagnetic energy beings. That's the reality of us. We think we're just human. We're humans, but we are spiritual beings having that human experience. So we're going to talk about our magnetic field, our electromagnetic field today, and called auras. So if we can get the first one. So if I asked you, who are you, or who are you, or who are you, or who are you, you might answer, well, I'm Joe Smith, you know, and I'm a carpenter. And well, about deeper than that. Let's talk about what are you. What are you would be answered, I am a spiritual being having this human experience. So it says, you are the universe expressing itself as a human for a little while. Eckhart Tolle, one of the modern mystics, wrote that. You are the universe expressing itself as a human for a little while. Humans can exchange energy with each other just like plants do. Aura is an electromagnetic field that surrounds your body. So different colors, auras have different colors. Beverly, bless her heart, she's not here today. She said to me a couple weeks ago, she said, because we were talking about auras, and she said, you know, auras, I thought only spiritual people have auras. I said, really? Where did you get that? Well, you know, like Jesus, they show him with a halo around his head, and St. Paul, they show all the saints. But do we have auras? I said, absolutely. And she said, well, I just thought spiritual. I said, Beverly, you're just as spiritual as anybody else. You are a spiritual being. And so we had these, the colors, I think this slide's ahead of something else that I put together. But these are auras taken by Carillion photography. And the Russians developed that Carillion photography back in the 60s. And this is the energy field around you. We call it an aura. And it reflects your state of consciousness. If you are happy, your aura will show one thing. And if you get angry, your aura will show another. And I went to a class decades ago, and they had the aura camera there. And they told us we would sit before the aura camera. I'm going to show you a picture of one in a little bit. And they said, okay, think of the happiest time you had, and when you were married or when you were a kid, whenever, and you think it, and then they take that picture. They said, now think of the meanest time, most awful time you've had when you were full of fear, and the aura picture changed. It was a different color, different consistency. Sometimes it would go like this, sometimes it would go like this. Next one. So, what color is your aura? Where are you? These are real pictures. This is real, authentic stuff. And I'll tell you, I read a story where in India, of course, the spiritual aspect of India believes in essentially what we teach here, that we are powerful spiritual beings, and what our moods and attitudes and thoughts and consciousness is expressed as an energy field around us. They actually have, and I'll show you a picture of one in India, when they go through the airport, not only are they monitoring people come in, they have machines that can read your thoughts. They really have that. If you research that, Google that, or what. And they are standing there, and they've got these guns, look like radar guns, and they are checking people's auras, I swear. Because they want to make sure you're not a terrorist or whatever they're concerned about. And this is actually, this is today's stuff. This is what they're doing. Next one. All right, this is a setup to take your aura. You've got the magnetic plates down here that you put your hands on, and it's reading your body, and they've got the camera and another apparatus that is checking your aura. Next one. And this is it. You go there and you put your hands on these plates. That's what we had when, this is back in the 70s when I was in this group that were metaphysical students, and that's where we checked our auras next. This is a modern machine. This is a computer-driven machine, and I hope to have one day here at Unity. They're costly, but just it would be good to check it, because you can verify it by the colors, and each color means a different thing or many things. It's a blend. It's not a dividing line. It's a blend, and you can see the difference if you change your thoughts while you're looking at that camera. And just go back a couple of slides with that color chart, please. Next one. One more. That's it. So this is very general. The real stuff goes in very, very deep with it. What you can see, purple is spiritual, passionate, visionary. Blue, intuitive, tranquil, trustworthy. Green, vitality, abundance, and growth. I can even read that one up there. Anyway, yellow, I guess. Enthusiastic, optimistic, happiness, success, and courage. Energy, passion, and determination. Now, when you take that red, and on some other charts, when that red turns into a dark red, that's very negative type thinking. So these colors can move, they can sway, they can go back and forth, and they can change in an instant. Anyway, go back, please, where we were. Thank you. One more. Okay, this is the gun. This is actually the guns that the Indians from India using to check your aura. They've got this may be an older version, because I saw one that had a plate that scanned, and this plate was going back and forth and scanning people. But this is actually an aura reader in an airport in India. Next one. Okay. Can you see that? Is that not very good? Anyway, I'm going to go back here. I'll start from the bottom. A black aura, lacking energy, illness, imminent death, perfect balance. Could be all of them. Greed, self-involvement, opinionated, depression, sadness, exhaustion, low energy, skepticism, love, sincerity, friendship, highly spiritual wisdom and intuition, benevolence, highly intuitive seeker, spiritual, loyal, can't be that directed, sensitive to moody. Anyway, on and on and on, but it gives you an idea of that, how powerful our thoughts are. And we can change our thoughts, we change our energy, and our energy affects everything around us. Okay, can you go? Okay. Even pets have auras. In fact, every single atom, cell, molecule, atom on the planet has an aura because it's all energy. Everything is all energy. God is all energy. So everything is God. God is not a particular something up in the sky. God is all over you, under, around, and through you. And I use the analogy of a fish. The fish was in the water, and the master teacher of the fish said, yeah, water, go for water, go for water. Water is everything. And the fish said, where is the water? And the master fish said, it's all around you. It's in you, in, over, under, around, and through you. Water is you. And just like God, where is God? Jesus said, don't look out there, look within. The kingdom of God is within you. And you, that's where you come from, a powerful, spiritual being. Next one. See? I can tell if an animal is in fear, or if it's happy, or whatever emotion the animal goes to. Can you see the dog in there somehow?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is our energy system. These are chakras. Crown chakra, forehead chakra, and Jerry and Don could tell you this system here. But anyway, we have energy fields. That's how we are fed. We are transmitters. We are receivers. We are electromagnetic chemical beings. And so these are your chakras. There's a front and back chakra all the way through, so you can read those if you can. And this is where we get our energy from. So when we're praying, it really does affect us and everyone else. Go ahead. So this is, again, just an illustration of the chakras in the human body. I invite you, there's books on these. You can Google them. You can get them off Amazon or any place else that sells books from authors. And if you're interested in this, they're worthwhile reads. Okay, go ahead. And that's just like 7 layers of the body. Not only the physical body, but you have layers of the body. And you can read through them. And this is set up for a class, really, not so much for a talk. But what we're doing here is our goal is to evolve, for us all to evolve in consciousness. And we would agree that we all have a lower self compared to a higher self. And the higher self is the Christ in us, the Master in us. And that's what Jesus did. He was able to merge, and our goal is to merge our higher self with our lower self. And, okay, here's another one. I'm skipping around a lot here. These slides are... Anyway, what about a sick person's aura? Once you can read that, a sick person breaks in the aura, immunity impaired due to unhealthy lifestyle, human waste of psychic energy. And of course, there's a healthy person, even emanations, but no defects, healthy lifestyle, good psychic energy potential. A sick person, uneven distribution of energies, fiery diseases, allergies due to improper use of psychic energy. And we have somebody here who reads auras, and that's Don Shell. Don has been reading auras. He was kind of born seeing auras, and he thought everybody else saw auras too. He just thought it was a natural thing, and he kind of got labeled as the weird guy because he could see people's energy fields. Now, there's a caution here. I remember when I spent a lot of time in Sedona. I had an RV, and I was parked at the park, and I was parked at campsites, and I just spent a lot of time there walking the vortexes. And after my son was killed, I just needed something that I could just immerse myself in and in an attempt to heal. And so they had people in Sedona that could really read an aura. I mean, they would come and you would pay for it, but you would sit down and they could tell you, you'd say, think a thought. Think a thought. And they would say, that's very depressing. That's sad. Sorry you're going through that. Think another thought. Oh, wow, you're just lightened up. And that's what they would do. But we also had the people that would walking up and down Sedona in robes. And these people irritated me because they would find anybody on the street and say, oh, your aura is off. Let me adjust your aura. It's like, no, don't adjust my aura. You're telling me something's wrong with me? How dare you come up and invade my space and tell me something's wrong with me? Is this, you know, and so that bugged me. So a spiritual person would not just read somebody's aura and say, hey, this person's screwed up over here. Let me tell you. No, that's not a spiritual way of living. Okay, next one. This one was a person who is out of balance. And when they spoke of this person, when they interviewed this person, he was saying how his life was amiss. And so they did put him, he went to a class, and they put him through some exercises, and they told him ways to balance your aura. One of them was Qigong. Where's Jerry? One of them was Qigong, Tai Chi, meditation. Meditation is all important. And meditation is not, it's to put, simplify it in terms, it's sitting down, getting comfortable, etc., and or whatever position you want to be in, and focusing on a thought, getting a thought in mind, and just focusing on that thought, or an object, or a rose, or a thought. I am love. I am spiritual being, and focus on that, and gradually you will get results such as peace of mind, etc., from meditating. And the story on this person was that he balanced out his aura by doing right living and doing things that they suggested. Next one. And this is just an example of transmitting thoughts. There are some people today, Jesus said, these things I do, you can also do. He could read people's thoughts. He could read people's auras. He knew what was going on with people. And so a lot of people are able to do that. A lot of people on the planet today, they're able to read somebody else's mind, and you can see it in some of the legitimate magicians in some of the shows. They'll do stuff that, how could they possibly know that? Like, for instance, having a stranger be called upon and said, there's a dollar bill in your pocket, and the numbers on the dollar bill are how did you do that? Well, some people are very psychic. And psychic does not absolutely mean spiritual, but some people have the ability to read thoughts and to do. Well, then that's what Jesus said we could do. There are some people on the planet, there's a lot of fakers, there's a lot of frauds, but there's people who can literally levitate. Working with the laws of gravity, they can literally levitate their bodies. And anyway, I won't belabor that. I don't want to run out of time here. Next one. So there's an organ, there's a gland in our physical bodies right now that in most of us is dormant. It's called the pineal gland. And in most of us, we're dormant. And as we progress on the spiritual path, this is what we want to do, is open our pineal, it's called the third eye, or the pineal gland. And when that's open and activated, there are things that we can do, that Jesus said we can do, that will blow our own minds as well as others. We can ascertain, we can express greater powers and abilities than we've ever done before. The next one. And this is, when we see this is the Egyptian, this is the Eye of Horus. But you notice it's on the dollar bill. And that pine cone signifies the pineal gland. It's pineal gland. And you can see where it is on the dollar bill. And because the Freemasons, not these local Mason Shriners, that's a different category, but these ancient Freemasons, they followed those rules, they followed those laws, spiritual laws, and so many of them activated their pineal gland. And that's the all-seeing eye that they're referring to there. And the next one. And that's what it looks like in the body. That's an actual picture of a brain cut in half. And the pineal gland is right there, that little gland. And if you Google that, look up that pineal gland, P-I-N-E-A-L, it'll amaze you. But that's what we're capable of. That's what we're here for, is to grow spiritually, consciously. And that's it. So, I skipped over our joke. See, all right. I got to tell this joke because Dave said he wants a joke, and I don't blame him. Yeah. So, I'm going to get a sip of water there. There was a man who went to visit his 90-year-old grandfather in a very secluded, thank you. Went to visit his 90-year-old grandfather in a very secluded, rural area of the state he lived in. And after spending the night, his grandfather prepared breakfast for him, consisting of eggs and bacon. And the man noticed there was a film-like substance on his plate. And he questioned his grandfather, "Grandpa, are these plates clean?" Grandfather replied, "Those plates are as clean as cold water can get them." Oh, wow, must not have a hot water heater. Okay, go ahead and finish your meal. So that afternoon, while eating the hamburgers his grandfather made for lunch, he noticed tiny specks around the edge of his plate and a substance that looked like dried egg yolks. So he asked again, "Grandpa, are you sure these plates are clean?" Without looking up from his hamburger, the grandfather said, "I told you before, the dishes are as clean as cold water can get them. Now don't ask me about it anymore." Later that afternoon, he was on his way out to get dinner in a nearby town. And as he was leaving, his grandfather's dog started to growl and wouldn't let him pass. So he said, "Grandpa, your dog won't let me out." Without diverting his attention from the football game he was so intently watching on TV, his grandfather shouted, "Cold water, go lay down." So, anyway, I just want to go back to where we were. We learned a lesson, and so we're all still growing. We don't see you as we're the ministers and you're the congregation. We see all of us as teachers. We're all teachers on some level, and we're all students on some level. So we see you as peers. We see you as incredible, awesome beings. So don't think of yourself as don't put yourself down to make other people feel good. You need to put yourself up. You need to focus on the highest and best for you. So what you want in life, focus on it. This is what I want. Remember, God's not going to give you something. God's never held anything back. God's given you everything, all the tools you need. And so what we have to do when we want something, and let's say I'm talking to these beautiful young children back there. So see yourself, if you want something, let's say it's well, you're a little young for a sports car, but what would you like to have? What's something you'd like to have? Yeah. Nobody else is young.
Sports car.
Sports car. Well, you can get that, even though Jerry promised he's going to give you one when you turn 18. You can so here's the deal. Here's how to manifest that sports car. You decide what you want. See, when I said, what do you want? You said, you don't know. You have to make a decision that you're powerful enough to get what you want. No matter what anybody's ever told you, you're not down here, you are way up here, and you got to believe it. You have to believe in yourself. So if you want a sports car, you got to figure out what's your favorite brand? Whatever. What was it? Asthma? Say a Corvette. Good. You want to see a Corvette? Get some pictures of a Corvette. Get the color you want. Put it on your wall. Make a treasure map. And you focus on that. And you say, it's not that I want this one day. You have to believe that you have it now. Jesus said, pray believing that what you asked for is already yours. And it's hard to do because it's hard to imagine something that you want that's not here, that you can't touch it, feel it, smell it, taste it. But you have to say, I have it now. Thank you. I'm so happy I have this sports car. Red, beautiful. And imagine you're driving down the road with it. Put yourself in there in your mind and driving down the road and hearing your friends say, hey, this looks great. Congratulations on your new sports car. You got to feel like you went. And you focus on that, focus on that. I had a friend in ministerial school, Charlotte. I'm sorry, Crystal. And Crystal, everybody wanted something. We're going around and said, well, we're going on a walk today around the city. And a long story there, but we said, we're going to manifest something today. And I picked something stupid like an apple. And everybody was picking something. And Crystal said, I want a car. I want a Mercedes-Benz. Oh, yeah, okay, good. And she said, I don't have to have it today, but I'm going to believe I have it right now. It's going to manifest. And we kind of picked on her a little bit, and some people got their apple or whatever they were wanting. But somebody was coming in from Oklahoma, a Texas oil millionaire, billionaire, whatever he was, with his wife, and he had a problem with that Mercedes he was driving. He had a brand new Mercedes. And they were coming into Kansas City, and they wanted to visit Unity Village. They said, we heard so much things about Unity Village. That's where this organization has come from. And she said, no, that's what I want. And she kept, and we were supporting her. Okay, she said, well, support me. Don't put me down. So we all said, all right, we see you having the right Mercedes, what you want, etc., the color, the style, the model, whatever have you. And anyway, going back to these people coming up to Unity Village, their Mercedes broke down. And it had it towed in. And so they had to go and wait for the dealer to get a part and all this stuff like that. Anyway, they finally got it fixed up. And they went to Unity Village. Well, Charlotte, as a ministerial student, she was in my class, we had all these, well, we had to take some time to be a tour guide for the village. That was part of our responsibilities. And so we would meet people at the coffee shop and then take them around and show them the grounds and introduce them to Unity. And Charlotte, I keep calling her Charlotte, Crystal, she was so focused on that. She said, well, I'm going to be a tour guide today. It feels like a really good day. So she went out there. So she goes out and meets these people. Hi, how you doing? She took them on the tour, and they just fell in love with her. She was a very beautiful, special person. And they just fell in love with her. And the man said, you know, I've been having a lot of trouble with this car, and they finally fixed it. And I had to wait for parts. And he said, you know, I'm not going to get another Mercedes. I'm going to get whatever car he wanted. And he says, I'm going to give this to you. He gave her a brand new Mercedes-Benz. He paid for her license, her insurance, all the expenses. He paid, give her money for gas. And she came into class with these keys hanging down. She got her Mercedes, actually, just exactly what she wanted. But she focused on it. She saw herself having it now, and she wouldn't take no for an answer. So you do that as well, whatever you want. Great kid. Thank you. God bless.